Welcome in to this Monday morning edition. Blue Sky Live here with you today. Chase Parham and Neal McCready. He's in the Clark Ford studio at home today, courtesy of Realtree. We'll get into baseball today. Ole Miss taking 2 out of 3 from Kentucky over the weekend, winning Thursday and Saturday. I probably wrote that incorrectly all throughout the weekend. Is the Thursday, Friday, Saturday thing gets me every single time. So Thursday and Saturday on that. Ole Miss got a big week. They're at Memphis on Tuesday, and then Mississippi State and Brian O'Connor coming into town this weekend. We'll discuss that in multiple ways throughout the week, leading into Friday. We're to the Sweet 16 in the men's tournament. 4 SEC teams advancing. We'll talk about that a little bit, and then the huge weekend for the Big Ten. What does that potentially mean? And the Ole Miss women's basketball team finishes up its season yesterday in Minneapolis, losing 65-63 as the Gophers scored with just a couple seconds left, maybe a second left, and then an Ole Miss shot at the buzzer fell just short, catching front rim and not going in. So all that and more coming up on a show brought to you every day by Blue Sky locations throughout the state of Mississippi, up and down I-55, throughout North Mississippi as well, taking care of you. They have Sweet Daddy's locations, most of those stops, briskets, lunch specials, pulled pork, sized desserts, and plenty other options there with Blue Sky. And again, Mr. McCready's in the Clark Ford studio.
I am Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours, right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote, and the rest is completely up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do. Let's hop into a Clark Ford today. 662-257-1900. Guest join on the Campbell Clinic hotline. From fractures and sports injuries to complex spine and limb conditions, the pediatric orthopedic physicians at Campbell Clinic in Oxford are the only specialized pediatric orthopedic team in North Mississippi, providing expert care for growing bodies. Visit CampbellClinicOxford.com to schedule an appointment or call 901-759-3111.
Yeah, the stream getting going a little bit today. They were asking about the Afro Man trial. Yeah, if you're into absurdity in court cases, that's certainly one to follow. I have not followed it closely, but I was aware of the main bullet points of said trial. I think, Neal, you're probably a little old for the Afro Man craze of the, like I said, I think late 90s, early 2000s, and then the recurring fraternity house scene that he seemed to go across the nation with for a while. You probably couldn't pick him out of a lineup, and that's okay. I understand.
Yeah, prior to this morning, had never heard of him. I wish him nothing but the best. I just don't know.
Yes.
I have no issue with him. I just don't.
Hope he gets whatever the courts decide that is legal and right and just at this juncture. And then reading here too as well. Let's see. Look, Glue says I am. There's a sympathy card going around my work for the death of someone's cat. You know, it's one of two things, and it's like 1 or 10. It either means you've got a pretty close office where things like that can resonate and matter because, I mean, people's pets are very, very important, or you're telling us because it's someone who never really focuses on anybody at all, and yet they wanted sympathy for something they don't give back. So it's one or the other. It's 1 or 10. You can fill us in on kind of what's going on there. Luke in the stream says he's back for the first time since the Miami loss in football. Took a little while to get back into it. Good to see you here this morning. So, yeah, good crowd here this morning as we're talking a little bit about all sports. And I guess we'll start with baseball, get that out of the way, go into it a little bit. I did a show on Friday morning talking about Elliott's start on Friday. I'm going to start on Thursday night because he was, I guess I called him vintage. It was really good. He had all 4 pitches working. He got a little deeper in the game. Some crazy stats there. It was the first time an Ole Miss pitcher had gotten an out in the 7th inning since last May in any game. I don't know how many games that was, probably 25, 30 games, something like that. But I thought that really big day for maybe Ole Miss's prospects moving forward. Neal wrote a little bit about it in 10 Thoughts as well, is that this team in a lot of ways, they kind of are what they are. And if you're expecting some crazy change, it's just not going to be what it is. This is a team that, you're counting wins. You're trying to get to different numbers for different expectations. It's get to 12, get to 13. Okay, you're in the tournament. Okay, can you get to 15, 16? Okay, you're hosting. You're going to play baseball in Oxford at that point, and you're sort of checking off those lists. And then here's the truth, and it's just reality, is they are going to live or die by how hot they are on the mound and hitting the ball out of the ballpark in those 2 weeks prior to the College World Series, and then moving on from there. That is their identity. It is who they are, and there is zero way to predict those outcomes prior to those weeks because it's baseball, and who the hell knows? Maybe Tristan Pacetta hits 1,000 home runs like he's currently doing, or maybe they go cold when they look listless and like they are terrible right now. But I will say this. You got – because I thought there were 2 or 3 main points from the weekend, and I know I'm rambling, but it's fine. One of them is, again, you got Elliott looking like Elliott. They messed with his arm slot a little bit in the offseason. It takes a while. Again, Mangrum has done a really good job of mixing winning with development, still tinkering, still trying to get max out of people, but realizing you've got to get outs and you have to win baseball games at the same time. And I think Elliott is getting a little more comfortable with that change because the fastball command was really there. His cutter was working, and he's always got that great changeup. So it looked like an ace on Thursday night. And then Ole Miss got really good news out of Cade Townsend last week. I wrote about it yesterday. Mike gave a pretty extensive update on Saturday evening. I will, at this point, be a little surprised if he does not start on Saturday. I think they were being very cautious. He has been throwing to different levels at least 3 times, maybe 4 since the injury. He's had no additional pain. He went from 30 to 60 feet, 60 to 90 feet, did some flat ground, done some bullpen. They want to see him in front of a couple live hitters. And what that simply means is they will simulate a couple live at-bats in practice at some point over the next couple days. And I think if he looks good in that, they're going to hand him the ball on Saturday. It's my opinion. It's not sourced. It's just my guess there. But his health is paramount because when I see so much of the frustration on the board, number one, I mean, you guys live and die by it, and I'll give you credit. I mean, you really care, but it's a football mentality too. It's a deal where you're not out of any game they play with those 2 on the mound because you're not going to give away a game that Hunter Elliott's pitching, and you're not going to give away a game that Cade Townsend's pitching. You're going to lose some of them too, don't get me wrong, but I think people are trying to juggle too much with the floor ceiling of this thing. It's just got to play out. They have recipes where they can win, and then they have recipes where they're going to look like crap at times offensively because they're still, even when they win, they don't have hits with runners in scoring position. It's not who they are. Kentucky and Ole Miss were complete opposites of one another. But I'll tell you what they did have. And I thought last year's team had this a little bit. It's why they ended up with 43 wins. It's why they ended up with 16 wins in the SEC. And it's what, the 22 team had in spades, but I'm not making that comparison. Is they've got a little fight to them, and they seem to like each other. You look at that Saturday game, and really the Friday in Texas too. Friday in Texas, you're down 4 runs in the 9th. I've seen some Ole Miss teams that would just mail that bad boy in. Some bad swings, get out of here, on the road, good crowd, first game, let's go get them tomorrow. And instead, they work 3 really good at-bats. Pacetta hits the ball at the ballpark. They've got a lead. They come back even after Texas ties it. They win the game. And then on Saturday, they lost leads 2 or 3 times. Kentucky had a 3-run lead in the 6th or 7th inning, and they just kind of kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And that's one where when every win matters the way it does in SEC baseball, I think you're sort of on to something. I think that's the thing you've got to have no matter what. And when you look around the league, we've said this the entire time, everybody's going to beat up on everybody. Nobody's about to go 24-6 in this bad boy. You're seeing it even through 2 weeks. I'll look at the standings in a minute. But you're seeing a lot of parity. You're seeing a lot of pitchers dominating on a given day. The kid from Alabama throws a no-hitter over the course of the weekend. Bama beats up on Florida over the weekend after Florida had swept. I guess it was South Carolina last week, so I don't know that it counts. But either way, there's parity. Go into every week independent of each other and kind of see where it goes. And if you're Ole Miss fans, I think you've got to feel much better on Saturday evening than you did going into the week. And I don't just mean record-wise. I just thought that they had a couple scripts where if you even have 2 different ways to win, and they had a little bit of that over the weekend, I think that changes the game a little bit. I think Ole Miss is in pretty good shape through 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, they're 3-3. They got 1 in Austin. That's what they had to do. They got 2 against Kentucky, which is what they had to do. I mean, I feel like it's a broken record. I mean, if if you're waiting for them to get red hot and go 22-8, I mean, you're probably in for a real disappointment. I mean, just doesn't look like that's in the cards. But they've got two really good starting pitchers. They have some guys who can run the ball out of the ballpark. It's going to come down to matchups and things of that nature. And the league's just going to be a slugfest. I mean, you're going to win some games. And Ole Miss, frankly, has won a couple of wild games already. One in Austin, and Saturday against Kentucky. That both of those games could have gone the other way, and they've lost a couple of games that they could have won, which is probably going to be par for the course the rest of the way. I mean, you got a really good Mississippi State team coming in this weekend that has a really high ceiling. I think Ole Miss has a high ceiling. It just has to work out just so. And there's no way to know that on March the 23rd to know, well, what kind of draw are they going to get? How healthy will they be? What kind of weather will it be? There's no way to really know all those things. And I think all of those things will really determine how far this team goes or doesn't go in the postseason. But I mean, I understand the teeth gnashing. I'm not making fun of it. I almost kind of feel bad for the people who do that with a team like this one, because, man, you're going to have days where you just are ripping your hair out, and then days when you're like, oh, we're headed to Omaha. And I'm not telling people how to fan. I swear I'm not. I always get told that I'm being condescending. I'm not trying to be. But this team's they are kind of what they are. I mean, you've seen enough. They're going to have some games where defense bites them. They're going to have some games where they just run into some really good clutch pitching and they don't deliver with runners in scoring position. And they're going to have some games where the other pitching is mediocre and they run it out of the ballpark pretty consistently. And you have Hunter Elliott and you have Cade Townsend, and those two give you a real shot in every single series, including this one against a really good State team where my opinion is pretty meaningless. You just got to make sure you get one. And then anything over that this weekend is bonus, because I think State's really good. And then when you have some opportunities later in the year to go get a couple, you got to go get them. But, I think Kentucky's a good team. And Elliott was terrific on Thursday. And then the kid for Kentucky, I can't think of his name, was really good on Friday. And Ole Miss had a couple of defensive miscues that killed them in that one inning. And then the Saturday game was sort of reminiscent of third game SEC weekend deals, where it just kind of turned into a slugfest, and both teams blew leads, and ultimately Ole Miss had the latest big inning and got the win. So I thought you had to get two. You got two. To me, it's a success, but I think the people that are waiting for this to look like some perfect team, I just think that's going to be a really long wait. Now, I'll say that even if this team ends up in Omaha, I mean, they have some flaws that you're going to continue to see. My opinion, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I've watched them a good bit. I've watched some of the other teams around the league a good bit. I think they have some flaws that every single weekend are going to get exposed a little bit. It's just going to be a matter of how they overcome them.
Yeah, I think what's happening because they're talking about the fan base and the stream a little bit, and I think what sort of happens with message boards and conversation and whatnot is that there's the thought of every part of it's bad in one way or the other, and it's like self-fulfilling. It can be great for 2 weeks, and as soon as there's any dip in production from any of those phases, those people come out and go CCC, and it's like, well, that's not really the way it works. Like defensively, Braden Randall's played really good defensively for the last few weeks. He has not been a problem at all at shortstop. I thought body control was excellent on Thursday night. He's been now, offensively, he's got some work to do. There's no doubt. I'm not justifying it, but defensively, he's been good. And in the outfield, it hasn't been a problem. They've been probably even above average the majority of the year. And then they had, it was a horrid inning. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was an absolute train wreck of an outfield inning.
The play in right field was going to be a difficult play. And then the play in center field was just a mental mistake that you see sometimes. You see center fielders make at the major league level. They were he was making a play before the ball was in his glove. It happens.
The kid for Texas did it against Foley on either Saturday or Sunday last week. Same thing, kind of went back to the wall and just lost it.
The kid did it in the Auburn series, and it cost him a chance to keep the game going. He tried to make a throw before the ball was in his glove, and the ball rolled underneath his glove all the way to the wall, and Auburn got the win. I mean, it's baseball. Look, it happens to major leaguers, but it's going to if I have a complaint about fan bases, this applies to all fan bases. If you only watch your team, you don't understand how pervasive this stuff is around the league. I know most people aren't going to do because they're going to the Ole Miss game. I don't go to the game because you're covering it. I turn on some different games and you watch different teams. It's happening there's no perfect team in the SEC. There's not. And I think you see that bear out in the records right now. You got a bunch of 4-2 teams, a bunch of 3-3 teams. Nobody's 6-0, and nobody's 0-6. I mean, there's just in my opinion, through 2 weeks, which is a pretty small sample size, is that there's not a hell of a lot of difference between about 9 or 10 teams. Mm-hmm. And, so it just kind of gets. It's just going to I think there's going to be a lot of teams who finish 15 and 15-ish. My opinion. We'll see. If I'm wrong, hey, it won't be the last thing I'm wrong about.
Well, look, nobody is 5-1 or 6-0 through 2 weeks, and I'll get to the standings in a minute. Yeah, I agree with everything you said, and I feel pretty good. And it's not bragging or anything. I don't mean it like that. I feel like I had a pretty good handle on them coming in, and that handle has been true. Like I mentioned this on the message board the other day. Everybody else was kind of going crazy about, look at all the 20 home run guys returning, and the offense is going to be this, and that was my concern. I hated the balance in this lineup going into the year, and that's proved true, that you can get around it, but it still is a problem, and it's a bigger problem in college baseball because teams don't play defense very well. We just talked about that. It's pervasive throughout the league, so if you hit the ball, then suddenly they're going to kick it around a little bit, and when Ole Miss doesn't do that, they hit fly balls, and they hit home runs, and they strike out. That's what they do. That is their team. We talked about that ad nauseum. I'm not going to keep it up. And then really my one miss so far, and I think it's something Ole Miss has to massage or manage as they move forward a little bit, which is, what about Will Libbert? Because it's 2 or 3 weeks in a row that's been fairly shaky, and for different reasons, which is a bit of a problem for Ole Miss. Their number 3 starter, Missouri transfer. Again, I think this is relevant in college athletics, making a lot of money. He's one of the 3 or 4 highest paid players on the team. And they had really high expectations because of what they saw at Missouri, and they thought that Mangrum would be able to develop him. And at times you see that. I mean, I wrote a whole story after the Houston games at the Astros Park where it was right there, and the analytics were so good, and he just ran out of gas and didn't quite keep it. And then since then, against Texas, it was just flat. I mean, there was just no bite to anything that he was throwing. And then on Saturday against Kentucky, in that first inning, he looked wildly uncomfortable. Just looked uncomfortable. Nothing looked right. It wasn't even about flatness or anything. He just couldn't seem to calm. Now, I am going to give him a ton of credit, and it got lost. Mike mentioned it, and we talked about it, and I asked him. He recovered to give you 3 scoreless in the second, third, and fourth.
Absolutely.
And that in a lot of ways, that won the game because
it did win the game.
Yeah, you get banged around at all right there, and you're done. So
yep.
I think that was.
Yeah, he was not comfortable early, and you see that with starting pitchers at the major league level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good Kentucky team. I know they're obnoxious and all that stuff, but they're good.
And they're partly good because they're hard to pitch against. They're a pain in the ass. Like they are. So, they're terrible to throw against.
I thought they had a really good plan against him. And, and then he gave them, Libbert gave Ole Miss several stabilizing innings.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss ended up taking a 5-2 lead.
They did.
In Kentucky, I thought they had some really good at-bats in the middle of the game. I know I'm sensitive to the condescending thing because I'm not trying to be, but I do think sometimes all fan bases that just lock in on their team sometimes don't give the other team credit. I thought Kentucky had some really, throughout that game, as that game went on and the game became more offensive, I thought both teams, Kentucky included, just had some really good at-bats. I mean, where you executed offensively. Ole Miss did it late in the game too, because, I mean, Kentucky took if I remember right, 8-5 lead.
That's correct.
Where it felt like, this one's on the verge of getting away, and then Ole Miss strung some really good at-bats together kind of quickly, if I recall correctly, and either tied the game or took a 9-8 lead, and then Kentucky tied it back up, and, on and on. The game became offensive, and I just thought Kentucky had some really good at-bats. But if Ole Miss had to go into its bullpen in the second inning as opposed to the fifth, I mean, we'll never know because it didn't happen, and so you're guessing. But my guess is that Kentucky probably would have won the game because they would have had – Ole Miss would have run out of effective pitching before that one hit the finish line.
Yeah, you got 3 scoreless from Libbard, and then, I mean, Walker Hooks gave you 4 of one-run ball that did kind of win the game there at the end. I mean, he was that stabilizing force, as you mentioned. So, yeah, a lot of good things there from Saturday, the home runs, and then go ahead.
Here's the point, though. Like, if you watch the rest of the league, there's not a bunch of teams in the league that have a consistent third starter.
No, that's college baseball.
And Texas has taken a closer and made him a starter, and they're worried about their bullpen suddenly. So, I mean, it's around the league. You see some teams experimenting a little bit. I mean, it's just that you don't have a perfect team, and you're not going to have one. That's kind of been my point for 2 weeks. But that appears to apply to everyone in the league.
Yeah. Last couple thoughts on that after the break. We'll be right back in a second. First, NE Spark, the fastest, most reliable fiber internet option available. Whether you're streaming the Rebels or connecting with family and friends, they offer both residential and business packages with speeds up to 2 gigabits. To learn more or register for service, that's nespark.com. NeSpark, get connected, stay local.
Ole Miss had a great football portal season. You can too. Do you have an old IRA or 401k with a former employer? Is that money stuck with the bad team, not living up to its full potential? Put that account in the transfer portal. Let a fellow Rebel professionally manage it for you. Andrew Sego Wealth Management. We'll build a playoff caliber portfolio just for you. Book a quick discovery call today at rebelsretire.com or 901-482-2676. Maybe you need tax savings strategies or retirement income planning. That's what they do every day, so give them a call. 901-482-2676 or book a discovery call online at rebelsretire.com. I'll have a mailbag on Wednesday. It's brought to you by Art Hayes, Sotheby's International Realty. Are you thinking of making a move? Put the power of Sotheby's International Realty to work for you. As a licensed agent with Sotheby's, a supporter of all things Ole Miss, Art can help you buy or sell in your hometown or anywhere in the world at no charge to you. Seriously, so call and ask him how. 612-805-5929 or email art@arthur.hayes@lakesmn.com. You may have noticed it's getting hotter outside as spring is here. It means now's the time to get that AC checked out. Make sure it's ready to go. I recommend Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating, different names, but the same great people, products, and services. If you're in Oxford, Batesville, Tupelo, those areas, call Comer 662-801-1777. If you are in Memphis, South Haven, Hernando, that area, give Southern a call, 662-429-4429. And we're brought to you by ENT Physicians of North Mississippi. As the largest private ENT practice in the state, their goal is simple: delivering fast, expert, comprehensive care for patients of all ages with ENT, allergy, sinus, dizziness, balance, and voice-related needs. With same-day or next-day appointments with ENT urgent care for that annoying cough or sore throat, in-office CT scans, and same-day allergy testing, and access to their comprehensive audiology team offering a full range of services from hearing aids and custom hearing protection to potential surgical options. ENT Physicians of North Mississippi are committed to removing barriers to care. They have new locations in New Albany and Starkville, in addition to Tupelo, Corinth, and more. Get more details at entnorthmississippi.com or call 662-844-6513.
Podcast also brought to you by Chicory Market. That's chicorymarket.com is the address online, and the address in person is on North Lamar, right there in the Midtown Shopping Center. Got a lot of stuff going on. We're going to tell you about soon. They're starting to give a lot of options to feed Ole Miss athletes and help them out. Part of the red card system, getting that going. And they can help you out, too, if you're coming in to just stock up your Airbnb, your Vrbo, or if you're local. Great produce, great meat selections with their vendors, dry goods, specialty items not available anywhere else. Again, that's chicorymarket.com. Let's see. Let's finish up the baseball thing real quick, and then we'll move on. Yeah, conference standpoint. I mean, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams 4-2 right now. Another 1, 2, 3, 4 or 3-3. So I mean, you're talking about 11 of the 16 that feel completely fine after 2 weeks with no real issues. And then Texas A&M 2-4, LSU 2-4, Vanderbilt 2-4, and then look, it was expected coming in, and is not a surprise that Missouri and South Carolina are at the bottom. Those are two really bad baseball teams in different ways. Missouri just can't fund and can't seem to. They don't care, and they don't have the resources. And then South Carolina, I've been asked by 15 different people. I know I'm not at all shocked that Paul Mainieri failed in Columbia. I am surprised that Paul Mainieri took the job to begin with, because it was always going to end like this. And that is the answer. He didn't want to leave LSU. He got run out. It was time. And this just has no chances. Because, look, Ray Tanner built that program into this monster that won 2 straight SEC national championships, played for a third one in a row. But they just haven't put the resources in until this year. And it's not an automatic fix. Like the powers that be went, we're going to pay like crazy in NIL this 1 year. And then a month in, it didn't work, and it's not cohesive. They had some injuries. Mainieri became a bad head coach, frankly, because of just old, kind of out of it. I mean, it just didn't work anymore. It was past his prime. And they're paying $4 million in a buyout to get rid of him here this part of the season. It's a lot of money in baseball to reset. I mean, we've talked a lot of buyout numbers about Mike over the course of time. So, yeah, South Carolina's in a weird spot because their expectations are simply not matching the resources that have consistently gone into that program since Ray Tanner. It's been an interesting case study because now they're about to be on their 4th coach post Tanner now, if I have that right. I think it was Holbrook, Lee, now Mainieri. I may be forgetting one. Maybe they had Kingston too. Maybe it's more. Anyway, a lot there. That era is fully over. And then, yeah, Missouri. Vanderbilt's kind of weird. I guess this is my point, then we're going to move on, is that there's a big difference in your record right now and who you are as a team and what your ceiling and capabilities are by May. Those are two totally different prospects. And, LSU is one of those teams that's still immensely talented. Like, that's a really good team in Baton Rouge, even though they're 2-4 and they've blown 2 games and they hadn't really figured out how to win. But they're probably not freaking out the way that Vanderbilt is freaking out, where I just don't know that Vanderbilt's got enough guns. Like, they just are limited in so many ways there in Nashville. So I think you're talking about 13 teams, 12 teams. I'm going to go with 12. I think there are 12 teams that I am not shocked if they end up in Omaha at the end, and that's the conference that you're dealing with right now. I think I'm only willing at this point to Sharpie out 3 or 4 teams that I just do not believe have the capability to get there. I think that's where we are. So, and hell, Ole Miss might play all of them.
I'd have to think about that one, but yeah, there's. Yeah. I mean, Auburn's
I
really
think
good.
It's Vanderbilt, Missouri, South Carolina, and I get they're 3-3, but I'm not ready to crown Bama, even though they have a hell of a coach.
Have a hell of a coach and have one hell of a player.
They do. And maybe that's enough. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, you get a little pitching, and who knows?
The kid hitting behind him keeps hitting clutch home runs.
Yeah.
It's early. Teams will evolve in April. There are a lot of really good coaches in the league. They'll figure it out. They always do.
Will says, what do you think about Florida getting swept by Alabama? I think that Florida is one of those teams that rides in rhythms because their head coach is a nut job. And so when they are going well, they sort of ride that energy and they're really good. And if you get them down at all, they look like crap because he just has one gear and it's to be a complete asshole. and it creates volatility in that program when they are not just so much better than everybody else that it does not matter. They've had those years where they won the title or things where, by God, I could have coached them to the title with no problem. But I think he does not manage the middle very well when it comes to them, and they have these weird streaks of hot and cold throughout the year, and that's what you saw. They just didn't play well over the course of and he does nothing but yell. That's what he's got. And
yeah, I watched a decent amount of that series off and on. Alabama was the more composed team.
Yeah. Oh, they had the better coach. There's no doubt about that on field.
And I love Justin LeBron.
Yeah. The thing at Florida is that Ethan Surwick is just a loss. I mean, you're going to watch that all year. He would really help Ole Miss's lineup. That's going to continue to be something you at least monitor as the year goes on. You guys talking about it? The Deuce McAllister, Lane Kiffin tweet situation from yesterday. So Deuce was in Baton Rouge on a visit with his son and took a photo with Lane. Lane tweeted the photo. I don't think he had a caption at all. I think he just put Deuce's name in it to tag him, if I have it correctly. And then Deuce quote tweets that with Just Different, which has been Lane's call sign, if you will, there in Baton Rouge since he took the job at LSU. And then Lane re-quote tweeted Deuce and said, "What, do they want him to lie?" Was his response to that. Look, I'm not about to denounce Deuce McAllister as an Ole Miss alumnus or anything else. I mean, from a PR standpoint, was it dumb? Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was really dumb. There's no doubt about that. I get the internet is frustrated. I'm not going to tell you to be or not be. I get the justification if you want to be frustrated, given the craziness that's been around this the entire time. I was shocked, I'll be honest. But I'm just having a hard time getting to like 10 either direction on this thing as it goes. But I am a little surprised because if it was a troll or a joke or anything else, it did not land in any capacity. I do not think Deuce is going to be on the sideline, the sideline in purple and gold on the 19th or anything like that. I think he was just there with his kid and he took a photo and he's just doing whatever. But yeah, I get that from a PR standpoint, it was not smart at all. I mean, it was going to raise issues. I think that could be seen from 10,000 feet away. So that's my opinion on it as we move forward.
I'd rather talk about Afro Man, even though I don't know anything about Afro Man.
I mean, we can talk about Afro Man.
I mean, I'm kidding. I'm that week in September, man. It's going to be volatile. There will be other people who will turn this today, I guess, into fire and brimstone. I'm not going to.
I think it shows you, I mean, it's just another level and another example of just, yeah, like you said, where this is going leading to the 19th. I mean, there's this is simmering. It's not simmering, it's boiling under the surface in every way, and it's spilling out into the surface. I mean, look, this tampering thing is not over. And I don't mean like, oh, Ole Miss is going to get popped. That's not my point. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, though, is there's the real chance that a ton of schools are involved when this sport's over and that LSU is all up in the middle of it where Lane is highly uncomfortable here soon. And if so, I mean, that's going to be the backdrop of whatever that time period is, again, leading to the 19th. I believe Ole Miss is fighting against a suspension. I think that's like almost worst case for them because that's what the elevating factors are. And I fully believe Ole Miss will fight and expose a lot of other programs should they be harmed to a point that they think is not justifiable, whatever they deem that. Because I think they're in a spot, we talked about this on the message board, where, again, anybody else in the program sends the text instead of Pete, and it's less of a deal. Again, you can think that's dumb. If the text is sent, I get it. But at the end of the day, that's the way it works, and that's the way they consider speeding. And Ole Miss is going to get slapped to some extent for that happening, period. And nobody is disputing that. Even on the Ole Miss side, they get it. That's understood, and that's where it moves forward from there. However, Ole Miss is also not going to sit back and just be the poster child for tampering in this era, because that is ludicrous, especially what happened back to them throughout the end of the portal period. So I don't know. Everybody's sort of stacking their ammunition, and then we'll see where it goes depending on what the NCAA decides to do.
It's a really weird case because if you, and I know nobody does it this way, but if you look at it from the NCAA's perspective, they're probably as pissed off at Pete Golding as a lot of people. Like, damn, because you've got the head coach doing the tampering. They don't want to appear toothless because their reputation right now is toothless. They also understand that they probably don't want to set off. You hit Ole Miss hard. Ole Miss goes, all right, well, we'll show you all the tampering we've got. And then all those schools that get targeted go, okay, well, we'll show you all the tampering we've got. And now you've got this deal where, if you followed that out, midway by the summertime, every coach in the country would be suspended, and strength coaches would be coaching the openers around the country, which frankly signed me up. But no, I mean, I think that's the problem. And if you're the NCAA and you don't come down with any sort of penalty, the message that you send is, which is why I think the Big Ten came out with this comment about let's just let this go. Let's just move on. Understand that everyone's tampering. It's a disaster. We sort of asked for this. We've got it. Until we got a hold on it, let's not ask people to police it, which I actually agree with. But that's the deal. And that's why I think my opinion on March the 23rd, this is just my opinion. I could be completely wrong. It's why I don't think we've heard from Pete Golding since January the 8th. It's why there's been very little media at all. I think this thing is still sort of a stalemate where nobody really knows what to do. And I'm not sympathizing with the NCAA here, except they don't really have a great choice. They don't have a clean path through this. They can either do nothing, let Ole Miss off the hook, and everybody goes, all right, well, it's fair game now, or they can hit Ole Miss, and then Ole Miss responds, and then everybody else responds, and you have kind of a world where it gets really ugly, I guess, although I'm of the opinion that nobody really seems to care about the tampering, because it's finally there are enough people like us who have said, look, everyone tampers, including your school. It's the weird part about Clemson going nuclear the way they sort of did that day is that
Ole Miss has stuff on them for how they got Forelli.
Clemson tampers, and they probably tamper less than a lot of other people, but they tamper, and so everybody's guilty.
Yeah, we're. I mean, you're exactly right, because we're having a big discussion about something that is really a technicality. Somebody else sends a text, and it's done a little differently through a system that has a bunch of bureaucratic steps to it, and it's the same thing that happens in 99% of the portal entries and movement and transfers that go on throughout the country. And no, nobody cares. And I mean, it's a good lead in, because I was going to mention it later anyway. But Austin, thanks for the super chat. He says, Neil, this was discussed on Borky's show. Love your thoughts. Is Greg Sankey on the hot seat? The Big Ten has passed us, and in recent times he hasn't exactly had the backs of his own school. Hot seat may be too strong, but yeah, I think Sankey is 100% losing Q rating and a problem right now from his own arguing that he has this stick. I mean, he's still the number 2 most important person because he runs the SEC, which is the number 2 conference right now. But the Big Ten in on-field success and the way they look off-field right now, they're lapping the SEC. Because you just mentioned it, the Big Ten is the one that sent the email or the memo to the NCAA and said, hey, quit the freaking tampering stuff. We're not at a point to do that. Stop right now. Let's figure it out and then resume. They're the ones that came out publicly against the NCAA and said that. The only thing Sankey kind of said was him and hawed around it and then said, well, the SEC might just break off and create their own rules. It's like, well, okay, but that's at the moment not an answer to any of the problems that are going on in this instance. I asked Keith about it on Thursday, and he said, sure, it's been talked about in meetings for a while. A little surprised Greg said it out loud, but that's not the main issue we have right now. And then you look at the NCAA tournament. Big Ten's got 6 schools in. 2 of them are going to play each other, so at least somebody's moving on to the Elite Eight. Probably several. Michigan's damn good. Michigan State doing the Tom Izzo thing again this season. A bunch of teams. Iowa knocks off Florida last night, 9 seed beating a 1 seed, or yesterday afternoon. Now, look, the SEC's got 4. It's not like the death of the league or anything. They're moving on. They've had a good week. Indiana wins the national title. Big Ten has 3 in a row, 3 different schools. A team like Indiana that came out of nowhere in this era. Truth is, they have a lot of corporations. They have the most money right now, and they seem to have the most. And this is a 10,000 feet opinion, so I could easily be wrong if you had a Big Ten person here. They seem to have a little more organization among themselves when it comes to keeping everyone somewhat sustainable and not just such the level of internal soap opera that I think in some ways the SEC is dealing with right now. I don't know why or how, but that's what it feels like. Again, could be completely wrong, but that is the feeling I have from this far away.
I think it's kind of simple, honestly. I think it's become all about money, and they have the most money. Those are massive schools, close to huge cities. They have a ton of corporate representation, and I think you're seeing they did a great job with the expansion when they added the West Coast teams. They've incorporated their expansion pretty well. They got the big TV deal. I mean, they're kind of winning in everything that they care about, and I just think they have a lot of money. You know, I don't know how much you can pin on Sankey or not on Sankey. I don't know. I mean, the SEC has just always had a level of infighting that maybe the Big Ten has, but they don't have it as visibly, at least from where I sit. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, the Big Ten feels to me like, and I don't know how much of this is due to commissioners or how much of this is just organic. The Big Ten, to me, feels like it has more synergy than the SEC does right now.
Yeah, I think that's correct. And again, how much that matters or doesn't, I have no idea. I'm not sure.
It's a better league right now. It is. It's just a better league right now. I know that's sacrilegious to say it, but it is. They have massive brands, and you know they've got the big TV contract, and I mean, look, they still. I mean, in a world where Notre Dame ever acquiesces and joins a league, it's going to be the Big Ten. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying that you shouldn't blame Sankey, but in a world where Greg Sankey just steps away, I don't know that there's somebody in place that you hire that solves all the problems. So I don't know that you can pin it all on him.
I mean, is this?
Like, I don't really know what is he supposed to do. I mean, you know, I've seen people blame Sankey for the Kiffin thing. I mean, what was Greg Sankey supposed to do on November the 30th that was going to change the way that played out? Realistically, within his power.
Yeah, there was no way to change the outcome of that. I mean, and it's not his place. I mean, that's not justifiable or worth it. It seems like he can't control anyone. And it felt like Slav could, and it felt like Sankey could at an extent earlier. And now it's just everyone running scattershot. And like you said, that's what I was saying here. It's not this simple, but a couple comments in the stream, I think it's relevant to some extent when you compare the Big Ten and the SEC. Matt says, feels like the Big Ten has more of the top few controlling the league and everybody else falls in line. I do think there is a little more tier system, which helps with that in some ways. Because almost every SEC school has something they're really passionate about or they're sort of in on at whatever extent. I don't think the Big has that in the same way. And then, Stacy says the very clear thing there. I think they hate each other less. Yeah, that's 100% true, I think. And look, Sankey is I get Chauncey's point. Again, I'm reading from the stream here for a minute, but it's relevant topics. He says, why are people mad at Sankey over the 9-game conference schedule when the Big Ten has a 9-game conference schedule too? It's because you went to 9 with no... Again, fans don't care how much money comes in. They care about wins. The fans don't care about the damn balance sheet at all, and they shouldn't. It doesn't matter.
Sankey's job, and I'm not defending Sankey here, but Sankey's job is to protect the balance sheets.
But it's also to protect their ability to win championships.
Sure.
And they have a raw deal right now. You go to 9, you still got the extra game. You go to 10, and you have no guarantees of an expanded playoff for the next 2 years. You could easily get screwed in December.
I'm just going to tell you to put that whole thing on no one but Greg Sankey is completely disingenuous.
Oh, it's true, but you are the point man. I mean, at the end of the day, he's the commissioner. I mean,
he also works for the presidents and chancellors.
And
and you've got to appease your TV partners. And I can tell you this is not guesswork. The TV partners were sick and tired of some of the non-con stuff. It was becoming very difficult for them to stomach it.
I easily could be missing things. It does not feel like enough money relative to what they are potentially losing to me. When you look at the amount that institutions are putting into athletic budgets to make them viable, and maybe it's just an extra little help, I don't know. I mean, Kentucky today, I put it on the board, $30 million this year to the athletic department to try to balance to some extent. Missouri's like 20 to 40 no matter the year. There's no doubt about that. Playing an extra game and losing teams in the playoffs for $5 million just does not seem relevant in the balance sheet to me. I mean, again, I'm not a businessman. I'm not in the room. Hell, I don't know. But when I look at everything that is being spent and everywhere that there is institutional help, that seems like a hell of a small amount of money for what you are potentially giving up in the course of that playoff. My opinion. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. I'd have to know more about what was being negotiated, what was being threatened, what was being insinuated. I don't know the answers to any of that stuff. And look, I don't know what's going to happen in November, December. But you're adding losses, and the Big Ten wanted 24 teams. I think it's headed to 24 teams. Here's the other thing, and the SEC did this to itself. The rest of the country hates the SEC. The Big 12, the ACC, they don't hate the Big Ten the way they hate the SEC.
No.
The arrogance, and it's been a really arrogant league for a while. The era when look, it was the SEC teams that when the tampering portal started, when they were the most active in it nationally. There's just a lot of that. I'm not saying it's justified. I'm not saying it's not. I don't know, but I think anybody who thinks that all you got to do is make a change at the top and you'll fix a lot of this, the cultural part of this.
No.
Kidding yourself.
Yeah. I guess my point is just, you look at the TV contracts and everything else. I think forever the SEC commissioner was seen to be like infallible, and we're just not there anymore. I think that's the point. That it's like, hey, look, publicly and weigh your voice. Sankey still to this day, he comes off saying a lot without saying anything, and frankly looks arrogant compared to Petiti, who seems to have much more substance when he does things. Speaking like the tampering thing. The SEC's the one stuck in way the bigger tampering battle, and Sankey hadn't done shit to say anything to the NCAA. They didn't send a memo. Didn't say, hey, what are you doing? Big Ten did.
And I wonder if that's because the level of tampering in the SEC is so much more egregious than what it is in the Big Ten across the board. I don't know. I just wonder.
Yeah, and I don't know that it is because, frankly, if you don't tamper, I don't see how you put the same teams together, and the Big Ten has great rosters. I think it's a PR thing as much as anything else.
Yeah.
My opinion.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know.
I just don't know. I don't know, just levels of egregiousness. I don't know. I'm guessing. Yeah. I don't know. But I go back to there's a lot of angst about the whole Kiffin thing with Sankey, and I've asked this numerous times. What was he supposed to do? I mean, it's my biggest complaint with college football in general is that you have an easy fix to your calendar. You don't like it, so you don't do it. And then, therefore, the calendar screwed up. And that if Ole Miss were 9-3 last year instead of 11-1, if just change the Oklahoma game. Oklahoma wins. Boomer Sooner. Lane Kiffin gets to leave after the Egg Bowl. Next day. Just like he did, and nobody says anything. I'm not defending Lane. I'm just saying the truth. But because they went 11-1 and made the playoffs, and you have this weird calendar that makes no sense at all, it turns into the circus that it did. And yeah, Lane contributed to the circus.
It turned into a circus because of the way he did it, not just that he left. I do think those two things are so different that, not you, but in general, everybody goes, oh, it's because he left. It's like, no, it's never because he left. It's how the hell he did it.
But it is when he left. He did what you would expect Lane to do, right? I mean, that's just what he does. I mean, I'll give Tyler Siskey credit. He said two things when Lane took the job. He said two things are going to happen. He's going to win, and it's going to be a messy end. I think he said it stronger than that, but
yeah, amen.
Those two things absolutely played out, and they were predictable. They were predicted right here on this platform.
Yeah.
So, the calendar's messed up. Nobody's willing to fix it because to fix it, I think you have to admit the quiet part out loud that nobody really wants to admit. Hey, we're going to follow the NFL because we have become the NFL at the big level. You move the signing period to February. You move the portal to April or May. You eliminate spring football, and you have mini camps in the summer. Boom.
Yeah. All right, be back in a second. First, Jackson Graber Group, GMFS Mortgage, John Graber in Oxford. Help all home buyers with first home, new construction, refinances, local in-house processing, underwriting, servicing, and more. Wide range of loan options, conventional FHA, VA, USDA, and great with condo financing. A little tougher, difficult in Oxford. He's an expert. He can help you out. So if you're buying a home, refinancing, or just have questions, give him a call, gmfsmortgage.com/JGG, 662-762-4502.
Arnett's Fine Jewelry is a fourth-generation jeweler located in the old Lamons building on North Lamar Avenue in Oxford. They offer expert jewelry repair, diamond engagement rings, wedding bands, stackable diamonds, genuine stone bands, pearls, genuine color stones, diamond jewelry, and much, much more. Getting close to graduation season, birthdays, anniversaries. At Arnett's, they want to be your jeweler. Got another baseball weekend coming up this weekend at Swayze. So if you're heading into town, stop by the College Corner. More than 4,000 square feet of the best Rebel gear in Oxford. Don't fight the traffic on the square or Jackson Avenue. Instead, go to their location in the Oxford Commons, just off of Sisk, across from Chick-fil-A. Plenty of parking. And their staff's going to have you in and out and ready for Swayze in no time with all the brands that you know and love. Nike, Horn Legend, Champion, Antigua, just to name a few. You can also go to collegecornerstore.com. And you can always stock up with your Coors Banquet for the big weekend ahead. Since its inception in 1873, Coors Banquet has been brewed in the same tradition of the original 150-year-old recipe. Banquet crafted with 100% Rocky Mountain water. So when you're enjoying a banquet, you are drinking history. I taped a Mind on My Money late last week with Martin Palomo of Argent Wealth. Argent, based in Ridgeland, Mississippi. They've got clients in more than 20 states. They provide detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much, much more. At Argent, investing is treated like a commodity. Decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. So regardless of your level of wealth, Argent will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan built just for you. It's myargentwealth.com.
Podcast also brought to you by the Horn Legend. Let's go hornlegend.com, sponsoring my Around the Horn segment every single Thursday during baseball season. And it's your place for sports shirts, pullovers, polos, hoodies. Got one from Realtree on right now. hornlegend.com. Go check it out. They got great jackets and vests for men and women. Got some new vest and jacket styles for men also there. And we really appreciate clicking the drop down. MPW Digital would be my choice for who you said sent you there. Again, that is hornlegend.com. All right, let's see. Well, I guess one last thing on that is because you're right. Siski talked about it. A lot of people talking about that Lane was going to win and then probably burn something down on the way out. Given everything, and there's lots of reasons for this that are sort of direct and indirect, and we'll see where it goes. I mean, I don't know what this 2026 season is going to look like, but Ole Miss has got a pretty good roster. They've got a roster that they think is competitive inside the college football playoff landscape. To lose a coach that won as much as he did, especially relative to what had happened in the past in the modern era, and to leave in that way, they sort of kept the car put together in a way that I don't think would usually happen. Like you would see much more, oh crap, this fell apart and your baseline had fallen so far. So I don't really know where to give credit on that, but it's just an observation. I was talking to Walker about it when he did the PRSSA thing with me last week, was just simply that the train, no pun intended, has stayed on the tracks in a way that you wouldn't necessarily anticipate with that caliber of record leaving in the way that he did. So just a thought as we move forward.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's I don't know. I as I said on Michael Bratton's show, I have really nuanced, complex thoughts on this whole topic. Lane certainly was theatric on his way out the door, but I think he would tell you that's just who he is. He was pretty theatric during his time at Ole Miss. He's going to do that thing where he wants to get his fan base all emotional and fired up, and he doesn't really care about the others. Now, he clearly is trying to dig at Ole Miss.
And he didn't care about his own players, because you don't let the public family plane thing go public if you don't care about potential fallout in your building.
But didn't we kind of know that?
Well, yeah. No, I mean, 100%.
Some of this is like, yeah, but I mean, everybody kind of knew those things anyway, right? I mean, everybody kind of knew.
I guess my point is more just how much of an outlier it is. Because, I mean, think about that sentence. I'm going to put my family on a plane publicly at the expense, potentially, of the players in my building trying to make the playoff. I mean, that is an amazing sentence when you just step back in a vacuum, is my point. Like, wow. Yep.
But I think what it shows you is he'd made up his mind he was leaving. I think he made up his mind weeks earlier that he was leaving.
Yeah. I think day after Georgia at the latest.
I think if you want to know my honest belief, and no one's ever going to – I think he didn't think they were as good as they were. I don't think he thought walking off the field at Georgia, and probably before that, I don't think he thought he had a playoff team. And in fairness, had he not had a playoff team, it would have been a much cleaner walk out the door. 9-3. I'm not going to coach the Citrus Bowl. I'm out. I'm taking this job that I can't, right or wrong, we'll see. I mean, it will play out over time. It's my educated opinion that he could not justify in his own mind turning down that job to stay at Ole Miss. Playoffs or no playoffs. Not saying it's right. Not saying it's wrong.
But again, I don't think it's about taking the job. I think it's the way you do it.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just simply saying I think had he handled it in whatever the first class manner would have been, it still would have been very vitriolic. You're walking away from a playoff team, go to a rival. You're boarding a plane on the Sunday after the regular season comes to an end of conference championship week to leave this place that you've been at for 6 years to go to a rival. It would have been, I don't know that there was any, I mean, did he handle it terribly? Of course. I'm just saying, I'm not sure that had he handled it in a textbook fashion, the feelings would be a hell of a lot different.
Lane and David Cutcliffe stayed the same amount of years. Both stayed 6 years. I mean, and Stacy makes a good point in the stream. His lack of relationships actually helped him in Ole Miss's favor because the assistants were the ones that had all the relationships, and you can maintain and mend in so many ways. He was tight with a few players, but that was it. So
I will say this I'm going to say this probably all summer. I think for both LSU and Ole Miss, everyone circles September the 19th. Everybody better circle September the 20th too.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to assume the sun rises the next day, and you've got, I mean, I guess it might not, but it probably will. And when it does, you gotta get ready for another game and the rest of a season, and someone's going to lose that game.
Is it LSU? Ole Miss has Florida and LSU has A&M. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Both on the road, I think.
Okay.
You know, so that to me is, I mean, I think that's a significant day for Ole Miss. Is the Kiffin game's going to come, and they'll keep a score, and they'll run a clock, and at some point, probably to the jubilation and relief of the Mississippi Highway Patrol and OPD, it will end. And, you know, and the next day you got to get up and get ready for another football game.
Mm-hmm. Ole Miss women yesterday afternoon, game started at 1 o'clock. They lose to Minnesota. The Gophers are on to the Sweet 16, I think, to play UCLA, if I have that bracket correct, as the Rebels finished their season again, 65-63, the final on that. Minnesota hit what ended up being a game-winning shot with just a second or two left, and then Ole Miss drew up a pretty good play. Got an open look-ish there that fell just short of the rim, falling there in Minneapolis. Really great environment, too. I watched a decent amount of the game as they had a full crowd. It was a hell of an environment there with the Gophers, and a lot of the attention after the game focused on the lack of minutes for Cody McMahon, Ole Miss's best player, the SEC I guess newcomer of the year, I think, had some All-American attention as well. And she fouled out with several minutes left in the game, and there were 2 of the 5 fouls that were not fouls. She was not touched on one. She did not touch anyone on one of them, and the other one did not initiate contact at all. And it took over a good bit of the post game. And I was talking to Neil about this before we started. It's a couple different things. One, in a vacuum, and I'm using that a lot today, is that okay, officials missed some calls and it's whatever, but you very rarely, you let McCune mention it after the game, was that you hardly ever see the best player get all the kind of odd foul calls. Like, it's just not something we see in basketball very much. I mean, you can call it protected, you can call it whatever it is. It's a big NBA thing, it's a big college basketball thing to some extent. And it just seemed like every time she breathed on somebody, it was a foul, and it was odd sort of optically to watch in real time. Clearly harmed Ole Miss. They had a couple other players that played very, very well, but when your best player is, again, I think only playing about half the game, that's a lot to overcome against the top 4 seed and a team that had only lost 8 games on their home floor there, and it just bit Ole Miss. They had a lead, played a really good third quarter, played pretty well the first half of the fourth quarter, and then just could not do much to finish it off there at the end. And I think not having your best player is probably a big relevant part of that. So another good season, but definitely falls, I'd say, a game short of where they had expectations. I mean, UCLA was going to be a wagon in the next round, but that is kind of -1 when you look at where they expected to be and probably should have been going into the tournament.
Yeah, I don't keep up with the women's game much at all. That said, as long as they stick with this format that they have of the top 4 seeds in each region hosting, it's imperative that you get one of those seeds. Mm-hmm. I don't watch the women's game enough to comment on officiating. I will say that the few times that I watch it, the officiating's bad. I didn't see this game. I just didn't see it. I saw a replay of the game-winning shot, which was looked like a defensive lapse in that spot, but you're trying to defend the whole court. I don't know enough about their team. I just didn't watch them. We had a beat writer cover them for a lot so I felt like the site covered it. I'm covering the men's team, and then we've got other stuff, and you just don't see it. Maybe I should see more of it than I do. I just don't. I don't. But I think she said this in the post game. You've got to figure out a way, and I know that's easier said than done, but you've got to figure out a way to get from this 5 line where they are to the 4 line.
Yeah, there's two things. Yeah, and you have the larger point that is true, is that they had that huge stretch that was very difficult, and they went 1-3 during it, and then it continued. They lost to Florida and A&M in 2 games that they were far better than the Gators and the Aggies, and that took them off the 4 line. It put them on the 5 line and put them in the situation they were in yesterday in Minnesota. So I mean, you can look at it in the micro or the macro, and there's reasons for both as they do that. Let's quickly take one final break. Let me tell you about G&M Pharmacy, 662-236-2222. They deliver locally in the Oxford area, and they offer MedSync, food prescriptions the same time each month, and take care of you. One trip to the pharmacy, one delivery. You have everything you need when you need it with G&M. So again, that's 662-236-2222.
We're brought to you by John Edwards, Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. John's part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows him to supply his clients with added values, unique benefits simply not available to other travelers. Get in touch with John if you're trying to make a special trip, one that creates a lifetime of unique memories. Give him a budget, give him some parameters, and then let him give you options that you probably won't find on your own. And no, you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. It's 901-494-3387, or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. Get the beautiful, healthy smile you deserve at Corinth Dental. Dr. Bubba McQueen, Dr. Jenny Beth Hendrick are devoted to restoring and enhancing the natural beauty of your smile using conservative, state-of-the-art procedures that will result in a beautiful, long-lasting smile. From routine checkups to advanced treatment, including implants and Invisalign, Corinth Dental is here to help you achieve your smile goals. Schedule your appointment today. Take the first step toward a better version of yourself. It's corinthdental.com.
Does your home and auto insurance keep going up? Let the folks at the firm, a proud Liberty Mutual and Safeco Insurance agency partner, take a look. Founded by Ole Miss alum Brian Hayden, they service the entire Southeastern Conference. Let their team of licensed professionals review your insurance needs, put together coverages to protect you and your family without breaking the bank. And schedule a consultation by calling 662-236-1101 or staff at thefirmsouth.com. Men's basketball, your Sweet 16 is Texas against Purdue, Iowa, Nebraska, Arkansas advances against Arizona now. Tough one for the Razorbacks coming up against the Wildcats. And then Illinois and Houston. That's your Thursday games. Your Friday games are St. John's Duke. St. John's eliminated Kansas yesterday. Bama just beat up on Texas Tech. They get Michigan. Again, another 4-1. Tough one there. Michigan State, UConn, and Tennessee advancing over Virginia. They now get Iowa State that just wrecked Kentucky after the first 10 minutes or so. Kentucky sort of dictated some pace early And after that, it was all Cyclones. And boy, I would not want to be Mark Pope today. $22 million roster and a second round exit where you didn't just not win, you were not competitive at all. You got beat by 20. Just, oof, God.
Yeah, Kentucky fans are all up in their feels right now. Tyrese Halliburton had a tweet yesterday that it was funny. But it triggered a lot of UK fans. Pope's got to figure it out. He probably has one more year.
There's no way he has more than one if he doesn't do better than this. There's no way.
I wouldn't think. And look. I mean, it counts, but they were very fortunate to make the second round. They were beat. That was a heave that just landed. I mean, it counts. It's a 3-pointer. It sent you to overtime, and you won the overtime.
Yeah.
Not trying to say it wasn't legitimate. The last second counts just like the first second. But,
however,
and
Santa Clara gave you all you wanted.
And it doesn't help them that the guy that they ran off, and it was time.
Sweet 16, second year in a row.
For the second year in a row, he's at a Sweet 16. In a Sweet 16, frankly, from a program standpoint, and this probably is difficult for Kentucky to swallow, Arkansas is way ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
This 5 of the last 6 years that program's made it to the Sweet 16. Kentucky cannot say the same. There's a lot there. And again, it was time for Cal to move on. But it's probably a rough day. And then Halliburton's tweet. He said, I don't remember it exactly. Tyrese Halliburton played at Iowa State.
Yeah.
He said, I went to mess with some of the Kentucky alums, but they all claim Arkansas now. And it was funny. These NBA teams have been doing, the videos when the guys get on the plane or whatever at practice or whatever. Hey, March Madness, who do you got? Who do you like or whatever? And there have been several former Kentucky guys who played for Cal who said Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them even wear Arkansas shoes.
Ooh.
It's not an Arkansas thing. It's a Cal thing.
Yeah.
Give him credit.
It's his dudes.
If you give him credit for nothing else, he admitted it the other day after Arkansas had beaten somebody. Maybe he did it when Arkansas won the SEC tournament in Nashville. And he was feeling himself a little bit, and he said, for him, it's about the name on the back of the jersey.
Yeah.
He said, it's always been that way wherever I've been. And then he kind of took another shot at Kentucky and Mitch Barnhart. But right now, the shots are landing.
Whew. Yeah. I was looking through more. Somebody mentioned Matt Jones. I was looking through his sort of reaction the last day or so.
He did a tweet about officiating that ended up. Our friend David Eckert quote tweeted it, and it led to them going back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah, just where we are in modern media, man. Like I dread the week of that LSU game because you probably will too. We are probably going to get frustrated at some of the rest of our market.
The rewriting of history.
Well, the rewriting of history and the just steering into the same. I find it very difficult to reconcile he's this horrible guy, yet you never said anything about that for 5 years. That was a little tough for me logically to put it together.
I mean, it's human nature. He's your guy.
Yeah. I know.
I mean, it's
I've admitted this.
The
I'm
eternal thing of, hey, he's an asshole, but he's my asshole.
But I'm old school, and I don't think journalistically like that. And so for me, it's where I just don't fit anymore. I admit it out loud. I can't do that. I find it to be really disingenuous. But it's coming. And Lane will steer into it like a Mario Andretti.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be Dale Earnhardt into turn 4. I mean, just going as hard as you can go. And look, and he's got the same deal, and maybe even more so.
No, more. Yeah.
I mean, that game's going to end, and they're going to get out to the airport, and they're going to fly and get back to Baton Rouge, and they're going to wake
one
up
way or
the
the
next
other
day on a swampy September the 20th in Baton Rouge, and he's going to have to turn the page.
Yeah,
going to be a real challenge for him.
We'll talk more basketball tomorrow, but just quick last thought as we're getting out of here. If I told you one of the 1 seeds went down against SEC teams, Arkansas against Arizona or Alabama, Michigan.
Wait, say that again.
If I told you Alabama or Arkansas beat a 1 seed, which one would you think would do it this week?
Okay, that's a good question. Let's talk through it.
Yeah.
So Alabama's path to beating Michigan is, hey, we're going to do this thing that we do, and when we make the shots, it works. And that's, F it, we're going to shoot the 3 ball. We don't really have an answer for Michigan's size, so we're going to try to shoot over it.
Michigan's favored by 10.5 on the line.
It's a big number. Yeah, I don't like Alabama's chances there. But if you told me they won, I would say, well, they took 45 threes
and just hit the hell out of them. Yeah,
they made 23 of them, right?
Yeah.
Because you got to win 1 game. Alabama's never beating Michigan in a 7-game series. The Arkansas one, if you told me Arkansas won, I would say 2 things. I would say they got Pringle back, and he was available to play against High Point the other night and didn't, but he was dressed and available. There are some rumblings that they're going to get Carter Knox back, which would add to their depth. I think my answer is Arkansas, because Arkansas has that special thing that you need to have in a tournament to pull off an upset, and that's an elite point guard who can just go win the game. And if you look at Acuff's numbers starting at the start of the SEC tournament to now, it's stunning.
Yeah.
He's scoring, he's assisting, he's not turning it over. And I thought they defended pretty well the other night against High Point. But I don't like either of their chances.
8.5 is the line in the Arkansas game.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, I think if you told me to pick one, I'd probably pick Arkansas to pull off an upset because Acuff's that good, but I don't like either team's chances.
I don't love Tennessee's against Iowa State either.
No.
Now,
Iowa State's a little banged up, but no, I mean, we're going to do the second weekend thing with Rick Barnes, and it's going to drive me insane, but it is what it is. I mean, Iowa State's really, really good.
They are. No, they're great. All right.
I mean, they could easily be a 1 seed.
Oh, no doubt.
And then who's Texas got?
Purdue.
Yeah, it's probably the end of the road for Purdue, but I mean,
they found it a little bit. Yeah.
Give Texas a lot of credit, and it's still. I go back to this. That's still on the message board today. It's wild to me. I can't figure it out. I know I need to write about it, and I don't really have the answers. Like how in the last 2 weeks of the season, Ole Miss took a Vanderbilt team to overtime, a Vanderbilt team that played a classic against Nebraska the other day in Oklahoma City. They lost to South Carolina, who sucked. They beat Texas, who's in the Sweet 16. They beat Alabama, who's in the Sweet 16. And they took Arkansas to overtime and probably should have won the game, and that team's in the Sweet 16. It's wild, man. I don't have And they beat Georgia, who made the tournament, but it's kind of a throwaway line.
Yeah,
I don't have. I mean, it's the people who said, "Hey, this Ole Miss team's good enough to be a second weekend team." Yeah.
And then, yeah.
But the answer to but is complex. And I know right now they're full throttle putting a roster together. They were recruiting some of the JUCOs at the JUCO tournaments this past weekend. They're figuring they got decisions to make on their own roster. You got guys with some big asking prices. You've got guys that probably would come back for a haircut, but how much haircut? And then you're just trying to find an impact. I mean, you look at the tournament, right? You look at Alabama and Arkansas and some of the teams. I mean, it came back to bite Florida yesterday. You've got to go find a point guard who can be impactful, because I think they want to keep Cameron, but they have to move him off the ball, and let him be a playmaker off the ball, which is where he plays well. So there's just a lot. There's a lot there, but it's still crazy to me to watch what happened in that last week, see where those teams went, and someone just sent us a text. LSU's at home against Texas A&M the next week. Still, it's
okay.
It's still Texas A&M. It's a talented roster, a well-coached team. You won't be able to be on letdown.
No, not at all.
You'll have to. Elko will have that team ready to play. I mean, the A&M's pretty consistent bunch under him.
Yeah. All right, Rebels 24/7. In the meantime, Neil and Siski did a show yesterday. 10 thoughts are up. I had another story from my conversation with Keith talking jersey patches and field logos. That's up at Rebels 24/7. And again, the recap from the women's game that Tyler did yesterday following the loss to Minnesota. So we'll get into more as the week goes on, baseball, basketball, and anything else that does pop up. Spring football, first availability still 8 days away, but they kick it off on the 27th. So again, coverage as we can, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.